Hi, I'm Peggy Oliveira. Thank you for joining me today. As Sexual Assault Awareness Month comes to a close, I thought that I would share my story of healing today. As many of you know, throughout the month I have been sharing other people's stories on my blog and of healing, and it's been really exciting for me to do that. And I didn't have any other stories, so I thought today, before the month ends, I would go ahead and talk a little bit about my story. And I want to do this because I know that so often people look at other people in general, but especially other professionals or therapists, as very different than they might be. And the truth is we're not, really. I mean, everybody's got some differences, but just because we happen to be a therapist doesn't necessarily make us any different in a positive way, I guess. But I know that people come to me, and even when they hear that I have been sexually abused, they still think that there's something about me that is different that allowed me to get where I am, but something about them that's going to keep them from getting there. And I want people to understand, now that I'm sharing my story, that I was a textbook case, so to speak, of a troubled, sexually abused person. I had literally almost all of the symptoms, so to speak, that somebody who's been sexually abused has. With the exception of addiction, well, at least not to chemicals of any sort. I did do some things. I never really liked alcohol because I didn't like the taste of it. And I did some other things, but I never, fortunately, became addicted to any sort of substance. But from how I felt about myself to acting out behaviors, coping mechanisms, all of that, it was pretty much the same as most everybody else. I used minimizing predominantly, I think, as a way of coping with the reality of what happened to me. But I also tried a lot of things to escape, and so, like I said, there were some drugs that I tried at times to try to just not think about things. Self-destructive behaviors, and obviously some drugs would be a part of that, unhealthy relationships, physical self-harming behaviors, different kinds of things. And my sense of self was, well, it was non-existent, really. I had no self-esteem. I fully believed that I was unworthy, though at the time you don't necessarily always recognize that you have that belief. You just live your life from that belief. So you choose people who aren't good for you, you don't take good care of yourself, you engage in self-destructive behaviors, all of those kinds of things. Because I had struggled with anxiety so much, and it was low-grade, relatively low-grade anxiety, worrying was a big thing for me. And even the depression was more of a dysthymia, I think, for the most part. But living with that throughout your life is kind of difficult, and it takes a toll. And at different times I had even felt suicidal, and contemplated on more than one occasion. Once I had children, it really was no longer an option for me, because when I had thought about it, and I still thought about it after I had children, but not seriously, because I thought that I couldn't do that to them. But I had so many of those symptoms that people struggle with. And had somebody told me at that time in my life, you know, even whether it was as a child or even into my early adulthood, that one day I would be sitting here with my own practice, working with people who have abuse histories, or doing these videos and putting them on YouTube, I would have probably felt really hurt, because I would have thought, they have no idea who they're talking to. They don't know me at all. They must think I'm somebody else or something like that. And I wouldn't have really listened to them much beyond that, because they clearly had no clue. But what's important is that even though at that time there is no way in a million years I would have been able to even believe in the tiniest possibility that I would be where I am today is part of the reason why I think that this is so important, because you can be. If I can be where I am today, you can be where you desire to be one day as well. I'm not suggesting that it's simple or easy, and it certainly isn't quick, but you can have a life that you've possibly never even imagined for yourself. Because when I look back on how I felt, what I believed, what I imagined for my future, it's literally like it's somebody else's life. This is not the life I thought I was going to have, and I am so incredibly grateful that I was able to have the experiences that I did once I started my healing journey that helped me get to where I am. So what does healing look like in my life? It's honestly kind of hard to categorize it in a sense, because everything is different. I am the same person. It's not that I, at a core level, have changed who I am. And I think that's significant too, because I've always been the same person. I just wasn't able to see it. The damage from the abuse completely blocks your ability to see who you really are, because you come up with all these ideas of who you are based on what your abuse teaches you. So it's not that you become a different person, it's that you become the person you were meant to be. And that's why I love that quote, that it's never too late to become what you might have been. Because it's not about changing who you are, it's about becoming who you are. So anyway, doing these videos is, I think, a prime example of how much I have changed over the years, because I would have never in a million years been able to even create a video, let alone put it out there for other people to watch. I had so much self-judgment, negative self-judgment, that I assumed that other people had as well about me. And so I would have never put a video out there or even created one, because I would be afraid that somebody might see it and that I would be judged in the way that I judged myself. So that, I think, is a really good example. It's not that I am not afraid of being judged, it's just that if I am judged, I believe in myself enough to know that it's an opinion. And I've been grateful enough to get some, or fortunate enough and very grateful to have gotten some feedback from people who have been able to gain from my video. So even though I might have, 10 people who might say, you talk too much, you don't know what you're talking about, your hair's a mess, or whatever it might be, I know that it's an opinion, and just because it's somebody's opinion, it doesn't mean that that's who I am. And that's what allows me to be able to do this. It's not that I think that I'm perfect at it, or that I am so smart and know everything that everybody else needs to hear it. It's just that I know that I'm okay with who I am and where I'm at in my life, and there are going to be people who don't agree with me, and that's okay. So that in and of itself is kind of a big thing, because oftentimes when you don't have a lot of self-confidence, you don't want to share yourself or your opinion with people, because you're afraid that if they disagree, they're going to judge you, or that it will mean that you're wrong. And that's not the case at all. So I'm able to share my opinion, probably a little more than some people might like at times, but I definitely have an opinion and I'm able to share it. But I'm also able to share it without an expectation that if somebody disagrees with me, that it means that one of us is wrong. And that's different too. Because sometimes when you don't have a lot of confidence and somebody disagrees with you, you feel the need to really get them to agree with you, otherwise you might be wrong, and some people aren't okay with that. I have no problem admitting that I don't know the answer, or I really don't have a problem admitting when I'm wrong, that my husband might disagree with that. But I know that being wrong doesn't make you a bad person, and it doesn't make you stupid or anything else. It just means that maybe you didn't have all the information. I'm able now to be in a very happy and healthy relationship with my husband. That hasn't always been the case. It didn't start off that way, certainly. But I know now that, well, first of all, I am able to believe that maybe he really does love me. And that changes our relationship in such a huge, significant way. Just believing that maybe he really does love me. Because maybe I am worthy of being loved really just creates a sense of security and freedom in a relationship, and I have that now. I'm able to express myself, even if we disagree, which we tend to do quite often. It's okay. We still love each other. It doesn't change our relationship. We just have different opinions, and that's okay. Even with colleagues, sometimes there's a difference of opinion on how you might approach something or how you might kind of conceptualize a client's struggles, and that's okay too. And there was a time, when you're in school and a teacher asks a question and you don't want to raise your hand because you're afraid you're going to be wrong and then people will think you're stupid. Well, I was certainly like that before. I'm not like that anymore. I have an opinion about lots of things, and if somebody asks, I'm usually going to share it. Doesn't mean that I have to be right. It doesn't mean that I even think that I'm right necessarily. It's just an opinion. I am able to go up to people and introduce myself, which is very unnerving to a lot of people, and it certainly was to me early on. But I've moved to some new areas over the last 10 years or so, and in order to make friends and put yourself out there to network and stuff like that, you have to be willing to meet people. And I can go up to somebody and introduce myself now, where before I would not have done that. And if I was forced to in whatever way, I would have had so much anxiety that I would have probably been nauseous. And that doesn't really happen to me anymore. I believe in my ability to try new things. I used to be, still kind of up to a certain degree, but I used to be such a perfectionist that I would not do something that I didn't feel completely confident that I would be able to complete or accomplish or succeed in, because that would prove that I was a failure. And I see things very differently now. I am able to try new things that interest me without fear of failure, because I am able to accept now that just trying in and of itself is success. It's actually part of what allowed me to have my own practice, because I had no idea what was going to happen when I started my practice. But I thought, well, what do I have to lose, really? So I decided to try it, and I am so incredibly grateful that I did. But those are some of the probably most significant ways that I have changed. I believe in myself. Ultimately, that's what it really comes down to. In letting go of the beliefs that the abuse created, that I was unworthy, unlovable, that I was bad, and feeling such a significant sense of hopelessness, being able to let go of that has allowed me to see the world and see myself through a much clearer lens. Before, it was all clouded. Everything was completely clouded by the damage of the abuse. It's kind of like having glasses on and having them all smudged up. I'm imagining being on a beach and having them all smudged up by tanning oil and sand and everything, and it's so hard to see through there. You can't see anything clearly. And this healing process has been not only cleaning the lenses, but being able to take them off and seeing the world, seeing myself in a completely different light. And I really want people to understand I am not different in that ability from you. I'm not. The life that I have now may be different from where your life is, but it doesn't mean that you can't be here. I'm not suggesting that you'll have your own practice or even be in this field or anything, but to be able to be in a place where you can see yourself and see your life with clarity. Being able to let go of the smudges and the fogginess that come from the beliefs that you carry around about yourself. It takes time, it takes patience, and it takes support. But it is possible to let go of that. And I really, when I look back, am still sometimes surprised at how significantly different my life is now. I have some people from my past who, both family members and people that I knew previous to healing, who have commented how different I am. When I was in high school, I would walk with my head down and never talk to anybody because I was so self-conscious, and learned later that people that I went to high school with actually thought that I was really stuck up. That's the term we used then, because I didn't talk to anybody and I wouldn't look at people. And how ironic that is, because I didn't talk to people and I didn't look at people because I didn't think I had anything of value to offer. So significant changes really can happen, but it does take time, and I do believe that it takes good therapy for that to happen. So please allow yourself to open up to even the smallest possibility that maybe your life can be something different than what you've believed it could. Thank you so much for joining me. I will look forward to seeing you next time.